Good day, everyone. Today, we will be going to tackle about the Republic Act 9003, or also known as the Ecological Waste Management Act of 2000. I am Leonard Tibangan and I will be discussing my part and digging more deeper about this act to be presented by my team. So what is this act? And what is the urgency of implementing this and why there is need to create this act? So Philippines is experiencing grievous garbage problems prior to the legislation of this act. Our country grapples with unsustainable garbage reduction, consumption, and insufficient solid waste management, causing negative effects on our environment and our being. Thus, the timeliness and relevance of these problems have bore out the creation of this act in response to the looming garbage problems in the country. In short, it is a great tool in alleviating various environmental illnesses and instilling responsibility among Filipino people in most responsible and effective management of our solid waste. The Republic Act 9003. It is an act providing for an ecological solid waste management program, creating the necessary institutional mechanisms and incentives, declaring certain acts prohibited and providing penalties, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. So, the act setting out policy direction for an effective solid waste management in the country, therefore, it is hereby declared the policy of the state to adopt a systematic, comprehensive, and ecological solid waste management program which shall ensure the protection of public health and environment, utilize environmentally sound methods that maximize the utilization of valuable resources and encourage resource conservation and recovery, set guidelines and targets for solid waste avoidance and volume reduction through source reduction and waste minimization measures, including composting, recycling, reuse, recovery, green charcoal process, and others before collection, treatment, and disposal in appropriate and environmentally sound solid waste management facilities in accordance with ecologically sustainable development principles. Also to ensure the proper segregation, collection, transport, storage, treatment, and disposal of solid waste through the formulation and adoption of the best environmental practice in ecological waste management, excluding incineration. Also to promote national research and development programs for improved solid waste management and resource conservation techniques, more effective institutional arrangement and indigenous and improved methods of waste reduction, collection, separation, and recovery. Also to encourage greater private sector participation in solid waste management, and to retain primary enforcement and responsibility of solid waste management with local government units while establishing a cooperative effort among the national government and local and other local government units, non-government organizations, and the private sector. Also to encourage cooperation and self-regulation among waste generators through the application of market-based instruments. Also to institutionalize public participation in the development and implementation of national and local integrated, comprehensive, and ecological waste management programs, and to strengthen the integration of ecological solid waste management and resource conservation and recovery topics into the academic curricula or formal and non-formal education in order to promote environmental awareness and action among the citizenry. For us to better understand the Republic Act 9003, here are the definition of terms. Agricultural waste shall refer to waste generated from planting or harvesting of crops, trimming or pruning of plants, and waste or runoff materials from farms or fields. Bulky wastes shall refer to waste materials which cannot be appropriately placed in separate containers because of either its bulky size, shape, or other physical attributes. This includes large, worn-out, or broken household, commercial, and industrial items such as furniture, lamps, bookcases, filing cabinets, and other similar items. Bureau shall refer to the Environmental Management Bureau. Buyback center shall refer to a recycling center that purchases or otherwise accepts recyclable materials from the public for the purpose of recycling such materials. Collection shall refer to the act of removing solid waste from the source or from a communal storage point. Composting shall refer to the controlled decomposition of organic matter by microorganisms, mainly bacteria and fungi, into humus-like product. Consumer electronics shall refer to special wastes that include worn-out, broken, and other discarded items such as radios, stereos, and TV sets. Controlled dump shall refer to a disposal site at which solid waste is deposited in accordance with the minimum prescribed standards of site operation. Department shall refer to Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Disposal shall refer to the discharge, deposit, dumping, spilling, leaking, or placing of any solid waste into or in any land. Disposal site shall refer to a site where solid waste is finally discharged and deposited. Ecological solid waste management shall refer to the systematic administration of activities which provide for segregation at source, segregated transportation, storage, transfer, processing, treatment, and disposal of solid waste and all other waste management activities which do not harm the environment. And the environmentally acceptable shall refer to the quality of being reusable, biodegradable, or compostable, recyclable, and not toxic or hazardous to the environment. That's all for the introduction and the definition of the Republic Act 9003, otherwise known as the Ecological Solid Waste Management. For more in-depth information and knowledge regarding this act will be presented by the next presenter.
So next, we will tackle about the Chapter 2, which is the institutional mechanism. We have here the Section 4, or the National Solid Waste Management Commission. So it is, of course, under the office of the President. So it has government agencies, which are the ENR, the ILG, the OST, League of City Mayors, League of Municipal Mayors, and Association of Barangay Councils. But we have 14 government agencies, but I just have mentioned 7 agencies. So now let's move on to the private sector. Shall be represented by the following. First, a representative from non-government organizations or the NGOs, and a representative from the recycling industry, from manufacturing or packaging industry. So now let's move on to the Section 5, or the powers and functions of the Commission. So the Commission shall undertake the following activities. First, prepare the National Solid Waste Management Framework, of course, that is a given. Approve local solid waste management plans in accordance with its rules and regulations. Review and monitor the implementation of local solid waste management plans. So moving on, we have here the Section 6, or meetings. The Commission shall meet at least once a month. Next, Section 7, or the National Ecology Center. So in this regard, it shall perform the following functions. So first, facilitating. Facilitate training and education in integrated ecological solid waste management. Next, establishing and managing. Establish and manage a solid waste management information database. So to develop, test, and disseminate model waste minimization and reduction auditing, procedures for evaluating options. So next, we have here the Section 8, or the role of department. For the furtherance of the objectives of this act, the department shall have the following functions. Prepare an annual solid waste management status report. Prepare and distribute information, education, and communication materials on solid waste management. So next, we have establishing. Establish methods and other parameters for the measurement of waste reduction, collection, and disposal. In addition, we have here the Section 9, or the visitorial powers of the department. So the department or its duly authorized representative shall have access to and the right to copy therefrom. And also, this section shall not apply to private dwelling places unless the visitorial power is otherwise judicially authorized. So, moreover, we have here the section 10, or the role of LGUs in solid waste management. So, pursuant to the relevant provisions of the Republic Act number 7160, or otherwise known as the Local Government Code, the LGUs shall be primarily responsible for the implementation and enforcement of the provisions of this Act. We have here the segregation and collection of solid waste shall be conducted at the barangay level specifically for biodegradable, compostable, and reusable waste. Furthermore, we have here the section 11, or the Provincial Solid Waste Management Board, and its member shall include, first, all the mayors of its component cities and municipalities, of course, and one representative from the Sangguniang Panlalawigan. And also we have here the provincial engineer. And aside from that, we also have another members. So now let's move on to the section 12, or the City and Municipal Solid Waste Management Board. So it shall be composed of the city or municipal mayor as head. So we have here the duties and responsibilities. First, develop the city or municipal solid waste management plan that shall ensure the long-term management of solid waste. Next, we have to monitor the implementation of the city or municipal solid waste management. So lastly, we have here to review every 2 years, or as the need arises, the city or municipal solid waste management plan. So lastly, we have here the section 13, or the establishment of multi-purpose environment cooperative, or the associations in every LGUs.
Now let us proceed with Chapter 3, entitled Comprehensive Solid Waste Management. In Article 1, it is entitled Local Government Solid Waste Management Plans. The waste management plan shall be for the reuse, recycling, and composting of waste generated in their respective jurisdictions. In Article 2, entitled Segregation of Waste, mandatory segregation of solid waste. Segregation of waste shall primarily be conducted at the source, to include household, institutional, industrial, commercial, and agricultural sources. The local government unit shall promulgate regulations requiring the owner or the person in charge of such premises to provide for the residents a designated area and container in which to accumulate source separated recyclable materials to be collected by the municipality or private center. And here are the requirements for the segregation and storage of solid waste. There shall be a separate container for each type of waste from all sources. The solid waste container, depending on its use, shall be properly marked or identified for on-site collection as compostable, non-recyclable, recyclable, or special waste, or any other classification as may be determined by the Commission. Now let us proceed with Article 3, entitled Collection and Transport of Solid Waste. And here are the requirements for collection of solid waste. All collectors and other personnel directly dealing with collection of solid waste shall be equipped with personal protective equipment to protect them from the hazards of handling solid waste. And collection of solid waste shall be done in a manner which prevents damage to the container and spillage or scattering of solid waste within the collection vicinity. And here are the guidelines for transfer stations. Transfer stations shall be designed and operated for efficient waste handling capacity and in compliance with environmental standards and guidelines set pursuant to this Act and other regulations, provided that no waste shall be stored in such station beyond 24 hours. And now let us proceed with Article 4, entitled Recycling Program. Requirement for eco-labeling. The DTI shall formulate and implement a coding system for packaging materials and products to facilitate waste recycling and reuse. Reclamation programs and buyback centers for recyclables and toxics. The National Ecology Center shall assist LGUs in establishing and implementing deposit or reclamation programs in coordination with manufacturers, recyclers, and generators to provide separate collection system or convenient drop-off location for recyclable materials, and particularly for separated toxic components of the waste stream like dry cell batteries and tires to ensure that they are not incinerated or disposed of in the landfill. Now, let us talk about the non-environmentally acceptable products. Non-environmentally acceptable products shall not be prohibited unless the Commission first find that there are alternatives available which are available to consumers at no more than 10% greater cost than the disposable product. Notwithstanding any other provision to the contrary, to this section shall not apply to packaging used at hospitals, nursing homes, or other medical facilities, and any packaging which is not environmentally acceptable, but for which there is no commercially available alternative is determined by the Commission. The establishment of LGU Materials Recovery Facility. There shall be established a Materials Recovery Facility, or the MRF, in every barangay or cluster of barangays. The facility shall be established in a barangay-owned or leased land or any suitable open space to be determined by the barangay through its sanggunian. The MRF shall receive mixed waste for final sorting, segregation, composting, and recycling. The resulting residual waste shall be transferred to a long-term storage or disposal facility or sanitary landfill. Now let us proceed with Article 5, which is composting. And here are the guidelines for compost quality. Compost products intended to be distributed commercially shall conform with the standards for organic fertilizer set by the Department of Agriculture. The DA shall assist the compost procedures to ensure that the compost products conform to such standard. Now let us proceed with Article 6, entitled Waste Management Facilities. And here are the criteria for siting a sanitary landfill. The following shall be the minimum criteria for the siting of sanitary landfills. First, the site selected must be consistent with the overall land use plan of the LGU. The site must be chosen with regard for the sensitivities of community's residents. Another, the site must be located in an area where the landfill's operation will not be detrimentally affected environmentally sensitive resources such as aquifers, groundwater reservoir, or watershed area, and designated of a separate containment area for household hazardous waste.
So, under also the comprehensive solid waste management, we have the Article 7, the local government solid waste management. So, we have the section 43 wherein it contains the guidelines for identification of common solid waste management program. For purposes of encouraging and facilitating the development of local government plans for solid waste management, the Commission shall, as soon as the practicable but not later than 6 months from the activity of this act publish guidelines for the identification of those areas which have common solid waste management problem and are appropriate unit for clustered solid waste management services. So the guidelines shall be based on the following. So we have the size and the location of areas which should be included. Also, the volume of solid waste which would be generated, the available means of coordinating local government planning between and among the LGUs or the local government unit, and for the integration of such with the national plan, and last is the possible lifespan of the disposal facilities. So we also have the section 44 wherein it contains the establishment of common waste treatment and disposal facilities. Also, this is also known as the Republic Act 7160, otherwise known as the Local Government Code, wherein all provinces, cities, municipalities, and barangays, through appropriate ordinances, are hereby mandated to consolidate or coordinate their efforts, services, and resources for purposes of jointly addressing common solid waste management problem or establishing common waste disposal facilities. Also, the department, the commission, and the solid or the local solid waste management locals also the department, the commission, and the local solid waste management boards shall provide technical and marketing assistance to the LGUs or the local government units. So next is the chapter 4 wherein we will be tackling or we will talk about incentives. So under the section 45, so what is meant by incentives? So incentives, it is also the rewards or the monetary. So next topic, we have the chapter 4 wherein we will be tackling about incentives. So in section 45, what is meant by incentives? So incentives, it is the rewards or the monetary or otherwise shall be provided to individuals, private organizations, and entities, including the non-government organization that have undertaken outstanding and innovative projects, technologies, processes, and techniques or activities in reuse, recycle, and reduction. So the said rewards shall be sourced from the fund herein created. So also, we have incentive. It is hereby provided for the purposes of encouraging the local government unit, enterprises, or private entities, including the NGOs, to develop or undertake an effective solid management or actively participate in any program geared toward the promotion thereof as provided for in this act. So we have these different kind or types of incentives. So we have the fiscal incentives. So fiscal incentives consistent with the provision of the EO 226 or the Executive Order number 226, otherwise known as the Omnibus Investment Code, and the following tax incentives shall be granted. First is the tax and duty exemption or imported capital equipment and investment. We also have the tax credit on domestic capital equipment, and the tax and duty exemption of donations, legacies,
and gifts. So if we have the fiscal incentives, we also have the non-fiscal incentives. So wherein the local government units, the enterprises or the private entities availing of tax incentives under this act shall also be entitled to applicable non-fiscal incentives provided for under the Executive Number 226, otherwise or also known as the Omnibus Investment Code. So, the Commission shall provide incentives to businesses and industries that are engaged in the recycling of wastes and which are registered with the Commission and have been issued in accordance with the guidelines established by the Commission. So, next is we also have the Financial Assistance Program wherein the government financial institution such as the Development Bank of the Philippines, the Land Bank of the Philippines, the Government Service Insurance System, and such other government institution providing financial services shall, in accordance with and to the extent allowed by the enabling provisions of their respective charters or applicable laws, accord high priority to extend financial services to individuals, enterprises, and other private entities engaged in solid waste management. So next is we have the extension of grants to all GUs. So the provinces, the cities, and the municipalities whose solid waste management plans have been duly approved by the Commission or who have been commended by the Commission for adopting innovative solid waste management programs may be entitled to receive grants for the purpose of developing their technical capacities. And the last but not the least, the incentives to host the local government unit. So the local government unit who hosts common waste management facilities shall be also entitled to incentives.
Next topic that we'll be tackling is all about Chapter 5, Financing Solid Waste Management. We have the Section 46, the Solid Waste Management Fund. There is hereby created, as a special account in the National Treasury, a solid waste management fund to be administered by the Commission. Such fund shall be sourced from the following clause. A. Fines and penalties imposed, proceeds of permits and licenses issued by the Department under this Act, donations, endowments, grants, and contributions from the domestic and foreign sources. And to Section 47, Authority to collect solid waste management fees. The local government unit shall impose fees in amount sufficient to pay costs of preparing, adopting, and implementing a solid waste management plan prepared pursuant to this Act. The fees shall be based on the following minimum factors. We have the types of solid waste, the amount volume of waste, and the distance of the transfer station to the waste management facility. These fees shall be used to pay the actual costs incurred by the local government unit. In collecting the local fees, in determining the amounts of fees, an LGU shall include only those costs directly related to adoption and implementation of the plan and the setting and collection of the fees. Okay, let's move on to Chapter 6, Penal Provisions, Section 48, Prohibited Acts, Section 49, Fines and Penalties. First, we have the littering, throwing, dumping of waste matters in public places such as roads, sidewalks, canals, esteros or parks, and establishment or causing or permitting the same. The fine will be 300 to 1,000 or a community service 1 to 15 days. Second, the undertaking activities or operating, collecting, or transporting equipment in violation of sanitation, operation, and other requirements or permits set forth in established pursuant. Third, the open burning of solid waste fines will be 300 to 1,000 or imprisonment 1 to 15 days. Number 4, causing or permitting the collection of non-segregated or unsorted wastes. 5, we have squatting in open dumps and landfills. 6, open dumping, burying, or biodegradable or non-biodegradable materials in flood-prone areas. 7, unauthorized removal of recyclable materials fines will be 1,000 to 3,000 and imprisonment of 15 days to 6 months. The mixing source separated recyclable materials with other solid waste in any vehicle, box, container, or receptacle used in solid waste collection or disposal. Number 9, the establishment or operation of any dumps as enjoined in this act or closure of said dumps in violation of Section 37. Number 10, the manufacture, distribution, or use of non-environmentally acceptable packaging materials. Number 11, importation of customer products packaged in non-environmentally acceptable materials. The fine would be 500,000 plus imprisonment 1 to 3 years. Number 12, importation of toxic wastes misinterpreted as recyclable or with recyclable content. Transport and dump log in bulk of collected domestic, industrial, commercial, and institutional wastes in areas other than centers or facilities. Fines will be 10,000 to 200,000 or imprisonment 30 days or 3 years or both. 14. Site preparation, construction, expansion, or operation of waste management facilities without an environmental compliance certificate required pursuant to Presidential Decree Number 1586 and this Act and not conforming with the land use of the LGU. Let's take a look at Chapter 7, the Miscellaneous Provisions. Section 51, we have the mandatory public hearings. Mandatory public hearings for national framework and local government solid waste management plans shall be undertaken by the Commission and the respective boards in accordance with process to be formulated in the implementation rules and regulations. We have the Section 55 Public Education and Information. The Commission shall, in coordination with DEX, TESDA, CHED, DILG, and PIA conduct a continuing education and information campaign on solid waste management. This aims to develop public awareness on ill effects and the community-based solution waste management. It also concentrates on activities which are feasible and which will have the greatest impact on the solid waste problem on the country, like resource conservation and recovery, recycling, segregation and source, reuse, reduction, and composting of solid waste, encouraging the general public, accredited NGOs, and people's organization to publicity, endorse, and patronize environmentally acceptable products and packaging materials. Section 57, Business and Industrial Role. The Commission shall encourage commercial and industrial establishment participate and invest in integrated ecological solid waste management projects to manufacture environment-friendly products, to introduce, develop, and adopt innovative process that shall recycle and reuse the materials, conserve raw materials and energy, reduce waste, and prevent pollution, and to undertake community activities to promote and propagate effective solid waste management practices.